Welcome back to the channel and welcome to week 16 here in the NFL. We are approaching the end of the regular season, but we got to keep trucking along, guys. We got another video jam-packed full of free picks for you guys here today. But before we dive into week 16's action, let's go ahead and take a look back at week 15 and how that ended up going down. We went pretty well, man. We ended up 5-3 overall on the day. But we do hit on a couple plus money plays that puts us up over 3 units on the day. So overall in the season now, we are sitting at a 63 and 46 and 1 record. We are up over 15 units now on the year. So we're going to look to keep on stacking up on those units. Let's go ahead and dive into Week 16's action here now. We're going to go ahead and jump over to Outlier for that first play of the day. First play I'm looking at, it's going to be the Rams -3 over the New York Jets. This is a 1 p.m. kickoff. It's in New York. Well, New Jersey technically, right? But we're looking at this one. It's -105 over there at FanDuel and Caesars right now. So those are your best options as far as odds are concerned. Let's go ahead and scroll down, man. Let's look at this insight from Outlier right off the whip where you can see the Jets are 3-9 against the spread in their last 12 games as an underdog. Man, the Jets they're actually they've lost 7 straight games now against the spread versus NFC teams as well. So we do have to consider that. In their last 9 games, let's flip to the other side. The Rams, 7-2, man. They start the season off 1-4. Since then, like I said, 7-2 to get to 8-6. They are now sitting at first in the NFC West, right? We have the Seahawks also sitting at 8-6, but they do hold that tiebreaker over them currently. So we'll have to see how the rest of the season shapes out, man. But the NFC West is starting to turn into a dogfight. We got the Rams at 8-6, Seahawks at 8-6, and then we got the Cardinals right underneath of them at 7-7. And 3 teams have had their moments this year, right? So it's going to be interesting to see how this one plays out. And then the Cardinals and the Rams face each other next week as well. So a lot on the line here in this one. The Rams definitely want to get this win here. And I think they do, man. We look at this Jets offense, like they have come along, right? Let's go ahead and flip over to the Jets side. After starting the season, just really struggling, a lot of inconsistencies, 19 points, 24, 24, and then 9, 17, and a 15 up here, right? And then a 6-point game against the Cardinals. Lots of inconsistencies there to start off the season as far as the offense is concerned. They've come along here in the last 4 weeks. 27 points, 21 against the Seattle defense. It's not too shabby, right? 26, 32. The problem with the Jets is that defense isn't stopping anybody as that offense starts surging. So the offense is looking good. The defense, not so much. Giving up 25, 32, 26, and 28 in the last 4 weeks. 31 then if we want to look at 5 weeks in a row. So that defense is not looking too hot at all. And now we have a Los Angeles Rams team coming in with Matthew Stafford at quarterback, leading, and it can be a pretty explosive offense at times. Now, granted, we did see them just muster 12 points last week, right? But that was a rainy, nasty game on a short week as well. So we got to consider that as well. In that outcome. Before that, 44 points up against that Buffalo Bills team that's rolling. So definitely look to the Rams to do you look at the Jets last week, they gave up 25 points to the Jacksonville Jaguars. So, and they damn near let the Jaguars come back to win that game. So I gotta expect the Rams to have more success against this New York Jet defense than the Jacksonville Jaguars did, right? So that's definitely playing into my my Rams look here at -3. We can come down here and we can look at them against common opponents. 6-2 for the Rams, 1-7 for the Jets. Obviously, like I said, man, the Rams have just had the better season overall, and they are just the better team overall. Go ahead and scroll down here. We can see the strength of schedule for both of these teams. The Rams are sitting at 10th. And the Jets are sitting at 21st, and there is still that big disparity in their records, right? So the Rams have faced a tougher schedule, have the better record. Jets have faced the weaker schedule and have the weaker record as well, right? 8-6 versus 4-10 overall. The Rams are also 4-3 on the road, while the Jets are just 2-4 at home. That's going to be my first play of the day. Like I said, looking at the Rams, -3, -105. Next up, I'm looking at the Cleveland Browns taking on my Cincinnati Bengals, 1 o'clock p.m. kickoff. Your boy's going to be there. Hopefully, I can see a 3rd straight Bengals win. That would be pristine. But I'm looking at the total in this one, and I'm shocking the world most likely, man. I'm looking at the under, which is always scary when you're looking at a Bengals game, right, this year with this defense that they're rolling out. To look at an under can be a little scary because you look down here, you can see the Bengals are hitting the over at an 80% rate in their last 10 games, 79% on the season. But the Browns are coming under this mark at a 64% rate. The thing for me is the head-to-head. right? You can see here 3 times in a row that we've come underneath this number, but we can go back further than that. These two teams head to head have not gone over this mark since 2021. There's 6 straight games between them that we've come underneath of this number. It's a divisional matchup in the AFC North, man. And now we've seen a handful of these this year with the Bengals involved, right? The Bengals and the Ravens, where they've had just these explosive displays of offense. And like I said, I understand that this Bengals defense is pretty meh, right? If we look at them on the season, at the games that they've gone under this mark, who have they played? Well, for one was against the Cleveland Browns in Cleveland, and then the New York Giants and the New England Patriots. So when they're playing these lower tier offensive teams, we do find that they have hit the under, right? And I just don't expect, anytime that they play Cleveland, man, it's not like they go out there and they throw a shitload of points up on the board, man. This Cleveland defense always plays the Bengals tough. There's still Myles Garrett out there. He's still going to make it rough on Joe. Denzel Ward's still back there in the secondary. He's going to make it hard on Jamar Chase. And this is just what it is. And this is the main reason why I'm looking at the under in this one. The Browns have shifted over from Jameis Winston also to Dorian Thompson-Robinson. They've had their troubles on the offensive end. We can go ahead and scroll down and look at them as well on the offensive side of things. They're only sitting at 30th in terms of scoring, averaging 17 points per game, 17th in terms of passing, 29th in terms of rushing. Watching these AFC North battles over the years, specifically in the Joe Burrow era, man, they have always, these Bengals and Browns games have been low scoring. Like I said, 6 straight games now that they've gone under this specific mark. So I do like the under here in this one. We can catch it at -105 on FanDuel as well as ESPN Bet and BetMGM. Next, we're going to start looking at a couple player props before we dive into some parlays to finish this video out. First up, I'm looking at Saquon Barkley. We've cashed on his over for the rushing yards a handful of times this year. They've got it down at 91.5, which, any other running back, you're like, man, it's kind of high. I don't know. Saquon, piece of cake. Let's take it, man. -120 over there at BetMGM. I'm all over it. He's hit this number 71% of the time on this season so far. 10 out of the 14 games that he has played. You can see a lot of green down here. And he's kind of crushed it at times, right? 147, 176, 159, 146, 255. The 146 right there is against the Washington Commanders, who we do see the Philadelphia Eagles playing this week. So I like this one here, guys. We can look at this insight from Outlier. He's exceeded 94.5 rushing yards in 5 of his last 6 games versus bottom 10 defenses. I'm looking at it 91.5, right? So I like this here a lot. This is against those bottom 10 defenses for rushing yards allowed. We can scroll over here and look at the Commanders, man. Overall, rushing 24th in terms of rushing yards allowed. Against the running back, that drops down to 27th. So I like Barkley having a day here. Like I said, he already put up 146 on this Washington Commander team earlier in the season. And he's looked damn good this year. So 65 yards last week against the Steelers. But honestly, man, they just dominated Pittsburgh. You didn't need a big game for Barkley. They had a big game through the air in that one. But we scroll down here and look at the Commanders on defense against the rush, 24th, against the pass, 4th. So I think that they lean back into that running game again this week and utilize their number 1 ranked rushing offense against this 24th ranked rushing defense. So I think we see another big game here from Saquon. I think this is another one where we see Saquon get up over triple digits. So I'm comfortable taking this one. And then next up, I'm looking at Bijan Robinson of the Atlanta Falcons. They're taking on the Giants at home, 1 o'clock kickoff. I'm looking at his rushing attempts over 18.5. We can get this -122 at FanDuel. You can also take it at 19.5 for -110. Kind of the same thing as the Saquon prop, just kind of like that extra bit of insurance there. -122, I'll take those odds all day. So I like this one here for a couple of reasons. If we scroll down here, we can see, right, he's only hitting this mark at a 43% rate on the season, but let's look at him in the last 5 specifically. That jumps up to 80%. They have been feeding him the ball quite a bit more. He is going up against the New York Giants rushing defense that sits at only 26 in terms of rushing attempts against. If we scroll on down, let's go ahead and look at that Giants defense versus this Falcons offense. Giants, defensively, they're sitting at 7th in terms of passing. They're sitting at 31st in terms of rushing yards. So The Falcons, I think that they got to lean on that running game, and you got to consider the fact that they benched Kirk Cousins. They now have rookie Michael Penix coming in to start for his first game. With the playoffs on the line, they are still in there. They still have playoff hopes. I kind of think that that's why they made that move, right? Kirk Cousins was really, really struggling. Let's go ahead and get some fresh blood in there. Let's see how the young guy does. But like I said, man, I don't think that we just the ball in his hands and hey, go out there and throw it 40 times. So I think we see Bijan get a lot of snaps in this one. Let's go ahead and scroll down and look at the rush attempt share on the season, and we can see that Bijan is taking the bulk of the carries, right? 59.8%, damn near 60% of the carries are going to Bijan Robinson. And I think that we see that a lot in this one, like I said, man, with Kirk Cousins getting benched, moving over to the rookie starting quarterback, so like this one, 80% hit rate in the last 5 games with that rookie quarterback starting. I'm going to jump all over that. So minus 122 over there at FanDuel. That's what I'm going to hit. We just need him to get 19 rushing attempts, and we are golden. And the last prop I'm looking at is going to be Jackson Smith-Njigba of the Seattle Seahawks. They're taking on the Minnesota Vikings at home. It's a 4:05 kickoff. I'm looking at his receiving yards. I'm taking the alternate over 59.5. It's sitting at minus 125 on DraftKings. We can see on the season he's hit this at a 57% rate, 8 out of 14 times. But look at this. It's at 7 games in a row that he's gone over that mark, right? So 100% hit rate in the last 5, 70% hit rate in the last 10. So you got to like that there, man. He is definitely seeing the ball and bringing that thing in, right? So looking at his receptions and targets, it's actually, you can see that he's getting the targets, right? 13, 11, 7, lower here in these 2 games. But then 12 again last week and he pulled in 10 of those 12 targets, right? He's exceeded actually 63.5 receiving yards 4 of his last 5 games at home. He's averaging 92 receiving yards a game in those ones. We can see the Seahawks also, they rely on that pass much more than the run, man. 63% pass rate on the season. And then scroll on down just a little bit more. He is leading the team with a 23.8% target rate on the season. One more thing to look at and to take into consideration, the Vikings are 29th in terms of receiving yards allowed. Let's look at them specifically against receivers, and they dropped to dead last. It's pretty easily achievable looking at him over these last 7 games as well. He hasn't come underneath 70 but one time, so I like this a lot. Jackson Smith-Njigba over 59.5 receiving yards. Like I said, minus 125 over there at DraftKings. Next play I'm looking at is going to be the Eagles and the Cardinals. I'm looking at a 2-leg money line parlay over there at DraftKings. Looking at the Eagles on the money line and the Cardinals, right? And that's going to give us a plus 121 2-leg parlay. Let's go ahead and jump back over there to Outlier to go ahead and dive into these just a little bit more. Looking at the Eagles first over the Commanders. Now, they will be on the road in Washington. That's a 1 p.m. kickoff. Now, look. Commanders have won 2 straight coming into this one. They beat up on the Titans, then they beat the Saints in New Orleans by 1. Prior to that, lost to the Cowboys, lost to the Eagles, lost to the Steelers. So 2-3 in their last 5. Now let's go ahead and flip over to the Eagles, and we can just see a lot of green, right? 10 straight wins for Philadelphia after starting the season 2-2. We did take them last week against the Steelers in another parlay that did hit. The Eagles do come out on top over a really solid Pittsburgh Steelers team as well. So Philadelphia is rolling in all aspects. Really look like the most balanced team in the NFL as of right now. We can see from this insight from Outlier as well. The Commanders are 2-10 in their last 12 games as an underdog, which they are here. And we look at their record versus common opponents here. Eagles are 8-1. Commanders sit at 6-4 versus those same teams. Let's go ahead and scroll down to the statistics here. Look at the Eagles' offense versus that defense. The Eagles are sitting at 8th in terms of scoring up against a middle-of-the-pack 16th ranked Washington Commander defense. This is where it starts to get a little hairy for Washington, right? Look at the red zone efficiency here. 11th for the Eagles, 29th in terms of red zone efficiency for that Washington defense. 7th and third down conversions, 22nd for the Commanders, 6th for first downs, 14th for the Commanders. Now, this is where the Commanders have a little leg in here, right? They're 4th in terms of passing and defense. Philadelphia sitting all the way down to 28th, but we saw what they did through the air last week against the Pittsburgh Steelers, right? So, we can't count them out there, but this is where they'll just dominate. First in terms of rushing, up against a 24th ranked Washington defense. So, I like all of those things in Philadelphia's favor. We can also look at their turnovers, right? They're sitting at 6 for turnovers. given up, and the Commanders are only at 21st in terms of turnovers forced. Let's go ahead and let's flip it real quick. This is where it gets even more interesting, right? So we get the number 6th ranked offense in terms of scoring going up against the number 1 ranked defense in terms of scoring. So we have high powered offense, but we have an even more high powered defense, in my opinion. And this is where I think it really just shifts all the favor into Philadelphia's direction. I mean, like we said, we did see the Eagles beat the Commanders already once this year. I think we see them take another one here, man. I think we see them sweep the Commanders on the season this year. Commanders got a solid offense. We can see them top 10 in a lot of categories, right? 7th in red zone efficiency, 6th for third down conversions, 4th for first downs. But we can say the same exact thing about the Eagles, man. 4th in red zone efficiency, 2nd for third down conversions, 1st for first downs. So they're getting after the quarterback as well. 9th in terms of sacks. The Commanders are only 21st in sacks allowed. So a lot of things looking Philadelphia's direction. Strength of schedule's even, man. The Eagles sitting at 25th, which isn't like, crazy good or anything, but the Commanders are all the way down there at 31st. Strength of victory, that's where the discrepancy gets bigger once again. The Eagles sitting all the way up at 8th, beating good teams, right? The Commanders sitting all the way down at 29. So definitely a lot of things, like I said, playing in Philly's favor here. We can see that they're 6-1 on the road. The Commanders are 5-2 at home as well. So, not like the Commanders are a shabby team by any means. I just think that Philadelphia is the better team, and Philadelphia is playing for that 1 seed. You got Philadelphia at 12-2. You got Detroit at 12-2. You got Minnesota at 12-2. So all 3 of these teams, they're coming in hard, right? But I think Detroit, with those injuries that they have on that defensive side of the ball, man. I mean, I'm just not sold on Minnesota being a more balanced and put together team than Philadelphia. I think Philadelphia is the cream of the crop over there in the NFC. And I think they show it once again and win the 11th straight game. Crazy. So, Philadelphia Eagles for me on the first leg with the money line. Let's go ahead and hop on over here. Let's look at the Cardinals and Panthers. This one, that's another one where there's playoff implications on the line. The Cardinals are just 1 game behind both the Cardinals or the Rams and the Seahawks. We talked about that earlier with the Rams play that we talked about at the beginning of the video. Arizona's right there in the thick of things. We can see that the Panthers are 5-24 in their last 29 games as an underdog, which they are here as well. Let's look at these guys on the season. The Cardinals are, finally get a win last week against the Patriots after losing 3 straight, but they lost, 2 games to the Seahawks, a division rival who's sitting at the top of the division, just 1 game above them, like we just said. They lost by 1 to the Minnesota Vikings in Minnesota. 12-2 team fighting for that 1 seed, right? Flipping over here to the Panther side, there was a lot of hype after Bryce Young, man. He had a couple good weeks there, and then they followed that up with a 30-14 beatdown to the Cowboys. All right, so record versus common opponents is another thing. They're 2-1. The Panthers 0-3 in those same games. Look at the statistics here. Cardinals middle of the pack as far as scoring. Panthers scoring defense sitting at dead last. Dead last, right? They're 7th in the rush. Panthers dead last. So I think we see a lot of James Conner here taking control of this game. Kind of a grinded out game. I'll look to the under in this one as well. But we'll talk about that here in a minute. I actually got that coming up on another play as well. But I do think that the Cardinals win a tough, physical, grinded out style of game where they rely on the legs of James Conner. And I think we could see Kyler Murray as well get out and about. And I think that the Panthers just really struggle overall against that. So I like that to wrap up this 2-leg parlay here. Like I said, it's going to give us plus 120. What was that? Plus 121 odds. All right, next up, I'm looking at another 3-leg parlay. This is going to be a alternate total parlay. I'm looking at the Cardinals and Panthers under 51.5, the Titans and the Colts over 36.5, and the Giants and the Falcons under 49.5. If we stick all 3 of those alternate totals together, we get a 3-pick parlay for plus 182 over here at DraftKings. Let's go ahead and jump back over to Outlier, break these down just a little bit more. That Cardinal and Panther game. Now, we did just talk about that in that previous parlay. Now, I do think this is going to be a more grinded out type game, right? I think we see the Cardinals rely on that run game against this horrible Carolina Panther run defense. So I think getting up over 51.5, getting to 52 points might be a little bit difficult for, it's not like they're, lights out on offense by any means, right? We got the Panthers at 17.6 points per game for 28th overall in the league, and the Cardinals sitting at just over 22, middle of the pack at 16. If we look at the last 10 games for each of these squads, we can see that they've come under this mark 90% of the time for the Cardinals, 80% of the time for the Panthers. We can push it back to the last 5, and it just gets better, right? Still 80% for the Panthers, 100% of the time for the Cardinals. So here recently, we can see that these two teams are coming underneath of this mark, and then considering the styles of plays, who we have involved, and the fact that, like we said, this game does mean something for the Cardinals. So I do think that we see the better effort defensively from them as well, not slowing down this Panther team. So I do like the Panthers in the win, like we talked about on that money line parlay, or the Cardinals. I think I said that again. I do like the Cardinals for the win in that money line parlay, and I do also like this game going under this mark, 51.5. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one, looking at the Titans and the Colts, and alternate over 36.5. Now we can see in the last 10, the Titans have gone over that mark 80% of the time, and the Colts 70% of the time. The over has hit in 8 of the last 12 games at home for the Colts, and this is an alternate over as well, or alternate total as well. So this line is sitting at 42.5. So I definitely like it at 36.5. We just need to get to 37 points here. Now look, the Titans are starting Mason Rudolph at quarterback, which is a tad bit concerning. But if we scroll down here and look at these two teams defensively, this is where it gets a little less concerning, right? They're 21st in terms of scoring defense, the Colts, 29th in terms of scoring defense for the Tennessee Titans. And we're going to see, offensively, we're going to see the Colts look to run the ball more than anything, right? They're only 27th in terms of passing, 13th in terms of rushing. Got a good running back there, as we all know. And then Anthony Richardson can get out and about also. And the Tennessee Titan defense is not shabby by any means, but they do excel more in the passing game over the rushing game. And for as good as they are as holding opponents down yard-wise, man, they are giving up a ton of points, 27 points per game. So I like this one here, like I said, to get over 36.5. And then our last one on this parlay was the Falcons and the Giants, under 49.5. Now, we touched on this game just a little bit earlier, too, with that Bijan Robinson pick. And we can see that, in the last 10, the Giants have come underneath this 49.5 mark at a 100% rate, 60% for the Falcons, and in 5 of their last 6 games as well. So definitely like that. We can scroll on down and look at these defenses as well. 20th in terms of scoring for the Giants, 25th in terms of scoring for the Falcons. So that could be a little concerning, but when we look at the offenses here, this is where it gets a little less concerning. 32nd in terms of scoring for the Giants. They've just been horrible. And now they'll be rolling out I think their 4th different starting quarterback this week. And then on the Falcons side, we have a rookie starting quarterback coming into play. So I think that definitely plays into it. And I think it's going to be hard for each of these teams to hit up over 49.5 and get us to a grand total of 50. And that's why this is juiced all the way up to minus 250, right? That's also why we're taking it as a parlay. So, like I said, a 3-pick parlay, guys. It's going to give us plus 182 odds over there at DraftKings. And those 3 again are the Cardinals, Panthers, a total alternate under 51.5. Sorry, I had trouble getting that one out. The Titans and the Colts over 36.5, and the Giants and the Falcons under 49.5. And then lastly, last pick I'm looking at, it's going to be a 2-leg parlay. Team totals, looking at the Bucks over 22.5, looking at the Bills over 26.5. Both of those are minus 225. Super juiced as singles, right? But we put them together. We're looking at a 2-pick parlay for plus 108. Super juice for a reason. Let's go ahead and jump back over to Outlier so we can dive into those plays right there. We'll look at the Bills first, man. That's a 425 kickoff against the New England Patriots in Buffalo. Like I said, 225, minus 225 as a single. It's juice for a reason, man. Let's go ahead and scroll down. On the season, 79% hit rate. 11 of the 14 games that they have played, they have gone over this mark, right? They have scored at least 27 points. So, man, they haven't scored less than 30 in 8 straight weeks now. This Buffalo Bills offense is rolling, man. They are looking phenomenal. Josh Allen is looking phenomenal. The Bills over 26.5 here. The Patriots are 23rd in terms of points allowed. Let's go ahead and scroll down, look at the stats a little bit. We'll flip this around. New England on defense, Buffalo on offense. So they are the second highest scoring team in the league, just under 32 points per game. And like I said, man, haven't scored less than 30 in 8 straight games now. They were dominating before this little 3-game stretch here as well. 34, 31, 47. Dude, just insane. 48 and 42 the last 2 weeks. Like, they are cooking, man. They are putting up some points, right? Went up against that 23rd ranked Patriots scoring defense. Third in red zone efficiency. 23rd for the Patriots on defense. 8th for third downs. Fifth for first downs. Bills 24th and 22nd, respectively, in those categories there. We're looking at passing yards and rushing yards. Bills are sitting in the top 10. Patriots 16th in terms of passing yards allowed, 21st in rushing yards allowed. So they're not getting to the quarterback whatsoever. 28th in sacks, 30th in QB hits, 25th in QB hurries. Then you got Allen back there that's just been elusive as all hell, right? Said, man, dude is playing phenomenal. Definitely the leading MVP candidate for sure. So I like this offense to roll, man. I like them to continue to dominate. I want to take the Bills on the spread, I really do, but at 14, it's just a little too much. I think that they do, right? But it's still a division game, end of the day. If you look at the previous head-to-heads between these two teams, the Bills haven't come out and beat them by double digits here in quite some time. So I'm going to go the safer route and look at the points because I know that Buffalo's going to put some points up, right? Because obviously it's what they do. So I like them to get to 27 points against this New England defense. And let's go ahead and look at the Bucs, man. It's going to be that Sunday night football game against the Cowboys. It's kind of more of the same. It's like, let's look at the Bucs on the year. They're 79%. 11 of the 14 games played, they have hit at least 23 points. In their last 10, you just saw that 90% of the time, right? 9 of the last 10 games, they have hit that mark. So definitely like that. Definitely like over here as well. The Cowboys are sitting at 29th in terms of points allowed. And we can scroll on down, do the same thing. Look at this Bucs offense versus that Dallas Cowboy defense. Keeps a rolling, man. This is where they have gotten their victories from this year. They played a lot of shootouts and they have scored a lot of points. 28.8 points per game, sitting at 4th in the league. Like I said, up against that 29th ranked scoring defense for the Cowboys. They're 6th in the red zone efficiency. Dead last for the Cowboys, right? So if they get down in the red zone, man, you can almost just like chalk it up. They're going to score against this Dallas team. They're going to score. 4th in terms of passing and 4th in terms of rushing, going up against a 21st ranked pass defense, 29th ranked rushing defense for the Cowboys. So you got to like it, man. The one thing that is a little bit concerning is that Dallas Cowboy pass rush. They do still got it. Micah Parsons is still back there leading that charge, man. 4th in terms of sacks, 5th in terms of hits and hurries. But the Bucs aren't horrible here, man. They're middle of the pack as far as sacks are concerned. 5th for QB hits, 11th for QB hurries. So it's a little concerning, but not enough to where I'm like, yeah, there's no way that Tampa Bay gets to 23 points. You know what I mean? I think that there's still a great chance of that. And combining these two guys together, like I said, to get a plus 108 parlay, I like that a lot. So that's going to wrap it up here for the picks, man. That's going to be the final play of the day. So I hope you guys enjoyed the content today. I hope you found it helpful and useful. And if you did, please do not forget to smash that like button down below for me. And please hit subscribe if you have not already. Let's have a great week 16. Hopefully we cash out. And I'll see you guys for week 17 next week.